This is Mr. Ariel Medina. He and I worked in Saudi Arabia together back between the years of 2016 and 2018. I left that job in 2018, but Ariel stayed on board and continued to work. I think he clocked in 8 years total. I worked there for 2 years. Ariel and I were friends. Although he's older than me, I considered him a friend because when you're on the path to becoming him, you need to seek wise counsel. And Ariel, being older than me, well, he offered wise counsel. We had many discussions, many talks, and Ariel's quite knowledgeable on so many topics that I enjoyed spending my time talking to him. On this trip to Thailand, I was able to reconnect with Ariel because he lives in Thailand these days. He's retired, but this is his home now, even though he's of Filipino descent. He lived for some time in Guam. He's American, but now he lives in Thailand. And we met in Saudi Arabia. So this whole international thing, he understands it. This whole international lifestyle, this whole international global view, this is nothing new to neither him nor to me. So we sat down, we had lunch together, we talked as we always do, as we always have. We got reconnected, reacquainted, and we ate some good food at the same time. Check us out. Pattaya, Thailand, 2025. Ariel and me.
It's a very fruitful country, you know.
So how long you been in Thailand total?
10 months.
10 months in Thailand.
Yeah.
We're in Pattaya right now, so you've been in Pattaya for 10 months?
Yes, Pattaya in 10 months, and then I take trips to other places. I particularly like Isan because
Isan,
it's nostalgic, farmlands basically, you know.
a different pace, slower.
Yeah, it reminds me of my grandfather, you know, as a fisherman, you know, villages. That's why it's kind of nostalgic.
You're from the Philippines,
Yeah, yes, I was born in the Philippines. I grew up in Guam.
in Guam.
Mm.
Man, do you know how old you were when you moved to Guam?
12 or 13, 15, I don't really remember it as much. 12 to 15, probably.
12 or 15. And of course, we met in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, yeah, right. That was an experience, really, right? But the pay was good.
Oh yeah,
It was great. We were like confined, though, right? Confined.
so are you officially retired?
I'm officially retired, right? But then the problem with retirement is you want to work again.
Yeah.
So I'm dealing with that. I might get back to working again, maybe after a few more months.
In English, teaching English.
Yeah, yeah, I would like to teach what I majored on, literature, but I'll teach whatever.
Couple
Ooh,
of
that
prep.
looks nice. I love that. Clear soup, they call it.
All right. So what are you having?
Uh, Grilled pork with fish.
Okay.
And of course, I love eggs.
And I've got some a pork soup here. I've never had this soup before. So, yeah, I've got some noodles in here.
Yeah, that's look nice, right? Kind of healthy looking too.
So tell me about your poetry because that's your creative outlet.
Yeah, poetry. It's mostly about abandonment, lost love, regrets, the usual poetry stuff. It's very difficult to write poetry about happiness.
Hmm.
And then I'm doing some novel like where I'm trying to combine philosophy, religion, and literature into a narrative that is metaphysical. So I concentrated on the Watchers, the Watcher tradition, especially if you read it in the Ethiopian Bible
Yes.
with Enoch.
Yeah, the Book of Enoch. Yes.
That's what kind of got me because it's a very strange story in the Bible. It doesn't make sense because with the Watcher, it seems to depict, another source of original sin, right? So there is the original sin of Satan, supposedly, of Lucifer, the original sin of the Watchers, and then the original sins of Adam and Eve.
Oh, wow.
So it intrigued me, and so I kind of looked at it and said, "All right, let's use it."
I'm familiar with Enoch. I haven't read it. I've listened to audiobooks of the Book of Enoch,
Yeah, yeah.
but I haven't studied it, gotten into it. Sounds like you have a very deep, rich understanding.
Oh, yeah. Well, my undergraduate degree is in religious studies, so I've been familiar with these things, and then add that with philosophy,
Yes.
and then you get some kind of context because it always has to do with context. I think they call it in indexo. For example, with a Watcher, you find out that biblical accounts is not really unique. It's under the background of Sumerian culture.
Oh, okay.
And the Bible is basically a response to that basic culture. Paradise, almost everything. The flood, the story of Gilgamesh was earlier than the Bible. And they just copied the story of, the flood. And, like they say of Noah. In the Sumerian culture, I can't pronounce his name, Upnapashin, I think that was it. So the Bible really, or what we call the Old Testament, is really a response of a particular tribe to a common culture. And that tribe, which is the Hebraic tribe, or ancient Israel, they're really not that famous, They're really just a minor or neglected tribe. And so when they did their narrative, their response was grandiose. And all of a sudden you hear, oh, our God is stronger, and then in time it becomes there's only one God, our God.
Oh, wow.
So it's a shocking revelation. And also what get me is that, I read about Marcion, who rejected the Old Testament. And now I think that he was right. But the early Christian kept, not the early Christian, I'm saying a particular group of Christian, now called Orthodox, kept the Old Testament because of a certain theology, the Messiah theology. They tried to, put Jesus in that context. Well, nobody's really certain. It's very strange because if we take out theology, right? So if we take a look at the Bible or the Old Testament, the Tanakh, literally, without theology, it really seems to say that, you know, some sort of science fiction, that Adam and that us humans are like we're created in a lab, you
Uh,
know. So if you really look at Adam and Eve's story,
mm-hmm.
you know, it's kind of strange because now that we're in the scientific world, we now know of cloning,
Right.
anesthesia,
Right.
taking the rib.
Yes. Oh.
In the Hebrew, the rib means your private parts
Oh.
of the
Oh.
man. That's
Oh.
where you get the,
Oh. Really?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It's a euphemism for that, you know,
Wow.
private part. And that's where we normally get, if you want to take away genetic materials, right?
Yeah.
And form Eve. So it's pretty bizarre if you really look at it without theology.
Yeah. So, so we've known each other since Saudi Arabia,
Oh yeah.
and we've talked and had these discussions about philosophy, philosophers, and you've educated me and showed me different perspectives and enlightened me. Um, one thing that you told me was about our colleague, our former colleague. We were riding in the car together, and you said, we work with a former Black Panther, the son of a Black
Oh
Panther.
yeah, he died, Maseo.
Yeah, I know, man. Maceo was something else, and so it was, but it was you. It was on that car ride with you when you confirmed it, or you told me. You said, "Hey, you know, we work. One of our colleagues is the son of a former Black Panther." And I
Yeah,
was like, "What?"
yeah,
And so you told me, and I said, "Oh my gosh." So every time I saw Maceo, it was I had a different experience.
ah,
I looked at him differently, and I
yeah,
told him, I said, "Hey man, who your father was, who your mother
yeah,
isn't lost on me. I know, man.
mm,
You know, and I guess a friendship,
yeah,
a bond developed between he and I because, as well as his other colleagues, everyone has a story about Maceo.
yeah.
Because
He's
he was,
really a good guy. I really liked
yeah,
him because he wanted to study Kali with me. He was asking me to ask some of those Filipino guys
yes,
who knows Kali that we might learn it. So I said, yeah, man. So I started asking at the Filipino community about it, you know.
he was
And
certainly into martial arts because
yeah,
he was
and one of them
studying
was,
jujitsu. Yeah.
I won't say a master, but quite adept at Kali or Arnis. But then by that time, Maseo was transferred, right?
Oh, to Tabuk or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was shocked really when I found out that he died of a heart
Heart
attack.
attack.
I don't know, but I said, my God, he's fat, right?
Yeah. But I heard from other, from Big Mike.
Yeah.
He said he didn't have the best diet because
He,
he would. Big Mike told me that
yeah.
he would buy a big bag of rice and he would eat that throughout the month.
Uh huh.
Have some meat or whatever, but rice was his,
Main,
sustenance.
the staple food.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I was really shocked.
he had like 13 kids.
Yeah, I didn't know he had two wives. I thought one of his wives is, I think, here, and the other was in L.A. or something. I don't know.
Kenya.
Ah.
At one time, I believe he did have a Saudi woman, or she might have been from Doha. He lived in Qatar. In Qatar, yeah.
Yeah.
Maceo was all right, man.
Yeah. That's probably why he transferred to Doha to be close to his wife.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. His wife and kids, yeah. How's your food?
Thai food is delicious.
Yeah, this is our second time
Yeah.
coming here, so
I'll start coming in here, man. play pool. This is a good place.